So,
Do you know what type of massage you're going to get?
just standard deep tissue.
Well, standard and
I know,
deep tissue are
and it's
completely
not.
different.
I just tell them to go deep.
Yeah. Don't
Go hard.
Don't hold off.
Don't
hold
hold
back.
back. Hold
See, last time I got a deep tissue, I was in so much pain. I did not like it.
You're a pussy.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you just tell, you just tell them that's too hard. Then I've never had to say back off though.
Yeah, me
So-
neither. I mean, that's the exciting part. It's like
The only time
exhilarating.
I have them usually skip my legs because I don't like when they go too deep and
stick to my
the
back.
thighs. And I don't need
I'm
that.
good.
Like just get my. You can do my butt.
I mean, it depends on what she looks like.
But-
But yeah.
But, I mean, he's very attractive.
Welcome to our Film Fathers podcast, the definitive podcast about fatherhood, film, and fatherhood in film. This is Jelani, and with me as always are the king of the no-ball pussy losers and a guy who would probably despise you if he gave you any thought. Martin and Brady.
Oh, you foolish, foolish boys. This is how it all starts. I've seen it all before. I was there. Yeah, it was called the 80s. Ford was president. Nixon was in the White House. FDR was running this country into the ground. I was bumming in a hole-in-the-wall town in what is now called Utah. Some fella from Colorado shows up, starts making all kinds of so-called improvements, right? Before we knew what hit us, the streets were running with latte.
You know, Rick, I have many a friend in Casablanca, but somehow, just because you despise me, you are the only one I trust.
This week, we're connecting the dots between a cinematic classic and an unexpected film it appears to have inspired. We're diving into one of the most unlikely pairings in movie history, Casablanca and Out Cold. One is a black and white masterpiece of romance and sacrifice set against the backdrop of World War II. The other, a snowboarding comedy packed with outrageous gags and party scenes. But dig a little deeper, and you'll see that the comedy is actually a clever and hilariously loose homage to an all-time great. Dare we ask, who did it better?
Answer me!
I've never seen Out Cold before.
Really?
Yeah, have you guys both
Yeah.
seen it?
Well,
Love
you
it?
know,
it's so good.
it's-
I was watching it and I'm like, oh, this is a remake of Casablanca, but that's not why I like it. I just think it was so much fun. I don't know why I've never seen it.
You know from, I mean, I think you know from me, Tyler, I have seen this a ton. I absolutely adore this movie and have seen it so many times. My old roommate, Corey, we used to this used to be like a staple when we came home from the bar at 2:30. We would go down, have another drink. We'd both hit a couch, and it was Out Cold was on, and we would wake up, and the menu was the DVD menu was on.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a very easy movie to just put on.
It's so. We're doing this one first. I
absolutely
fucking love this movie, and you know what? This is the first time I'd seen it in quite some time, and I still fucking love this movie. It's so good. I'm so happy you loved it. I love it. I was so excited.
I was
to
cracking up. I mean, we just did the other ski movies, and this one is takes the cake.
We talked about potentially tying this in with a ski patrol. I mean, it definitely. It's almost essentially there's a lot of those vibes too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Guy coming to the mountain, but it is when you mentioned the whole connection to Casablanca, which a movie I've never seen.
Yeah, and I'm like, yes, it gets me to have these guys watch an old movie that I love, and I love Casablanca.
You wrote me in with that, but Jelani, you've seen Out Cold.
I have seen Out Cold a couple of times, and like you said, Brady, it's one that it's an easy watch. It was on when we were in college, and like you said, after the bars, just come back and watch it. One of the things that I liked about it was as I'm watching it this time, because we had talked about it being a parallel to Casablanca, I'm trying to find the parallels. So of course
it ain't hard.
Yeah. I watched Casablanca first, and then we were watching Out Cold. And at one point, Jen looks up because she was kind of half paying attention. She did perk up when Victoria Silvstedt walked on the screen. And
Victoria Silvstedt, Playmate of the Year?
Yeah. Everybody was like,
do you know what that's from? The line Victoria Silvstedt, Playmate of the Year?
I mean, that sounds very familiar.
It's from BASEketball.
Okay. another
classic,
underrated comedy.
Very, very Brady-friendly movie. Yeah. But so every time I see her, you got to say it all. It's Victoria Silvstedt,
she's the sister?
Inga.
Yeah, she's Inga. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, but as we're watching the movie, And as we get towards the end, Jen like looks up because she's like half paying attention, half not. She's like, "Oh, I didn't even realize his name was Rick." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the whole thing."
Well, that's not the whole thing.
Well,
by
it took
any
me
means,
a
but-
little while to even get to that. It was right when I don't know when I realized it, but before he did of all the ski lodges and
Yeah.
all the town, all the
Yeah.
gin joints. I only know the Casablanca quote, but I knew that was coming. But there was something else that made
Well,
me
also the play the song,
play this. That's what,
Yes,
yeah,
that was
that
another
for
one.
sure.
and then at the end,
And I love that. What song? Wait, what song was it? It was.
"Island in the Sun" from Weezer.
But I like that he plays. I was cracking up when he plays. I like Sir Mix-a-Lot first. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, wrong one."
Yeah, so you have
No, not that one. I mean, it's great. It makes it more enjoyable. I think that if you know the old movie, right?
But
Yeah.
then the other one that I'm aware of is instead of "We'll always have Paris," it's "We'll always have Pedro O'Hornies." Oh my god, that's really really funny.
But it's fun even if you don't make
Yeah,
those
And
connections.
the Rick thing is one, but he also wears the
white jacket.
which is
Yes, I did notice that by the end. Yeah,
Though
and the Nazis are the
The-
guys trying to buy the mountain.
yeah. Look again, never seeing this Casablanca, which is
Yeah.
obviously a very renowned movie, but having seen Out Cold 25 plus times, did never. For me, Casablanca ripped this off. But obviously, it's. I mean, I'm not kidding you. From the jump, I am dying. Like Keckner is.
Keckner's very funny.
Yeah, I don't know. He is just like perfect as this.
I'm
this
kind of
Stumps.
mad that I don't know the movie as well as you guys do. Like that I'm not able to remember all of it because I've only seen it the once.
Well, and so the first note I had was it took seconds, but I'm like, this is Galifianakis becoming like this is his first real movie.
Yeah.
And right around the time that I first saw him on his Comedy Central special, which is really really funny when it was like his 30-minute.
I don't think I even saw that.
Oh, dude, it's so fun. He plays the piano and it's great. He
Okay.
talks like he's just.
Between Two Ferns and all that.
Oh, this
Yeah,
is
way
way
before
before.
all
This
that.
is way before Hangover.
Hangover was what year? 2004.
No,
not
it's not
90s.
90s. It's got to be later. I wouldn't want to say 10, is it?
Oh, it's 9. Yeah, 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean
yeah.
it's way after this.
This is 2001. Yeah.
but this is so I knew Galifianakis from this and that Comedy Central special, and like I thought this guy was hilarious, but then kind of just disappeared forever.
What I liked about this, though, was he wasn't necessarily the butt of every joke, right?
Oh, no.
Like Pigpen
Not at
was
all.
the butt of the jokes.
Yeah.
And he was more like just the comedy, like the funny man.
He was, but he's also his thing was that he passed out all the time, and they got put in these like that was the thing. I said Galifianakis in all his glory or glory hole, but like the bucket,
tub hole?
the bucket,
Hot tub
a
Casanova.
paintbrush, and 10 pounds of salt is like that. The polar bear prank is one thing. The car spin,
the car
and
spin
is
got me.
epic.
That was very, very good.
and one of those things I've never not died laughing at that. Like,
Yeah,
and then
I see that.
you're already thinking it's hilarious, and then he slams Pigpen's face into the steering wheel, which just makes it even funnier. Oh man, I love it.
Yeah. And then just, again, seeing all these people before they've, gone on to bigger and better things. And then, like Thomas Lennon being in there.
Yeah.
Keckner, as we mentioned before, and Galifianakis, being the big comedy people.
I mean, look, everyone's got their preferences, but like Jenny was way hotter than Anna.
Jenny's
Jenny's the girl on the mountain.
yeah.
JJ.
And she's way better. AJ Cook.
AJ Cook. Yeah.
Pre CSI.
Criminal Minds.
Damn it.
I wouldn't say way, but they're like
Way.
about the same.
Nah, Jenny's and way cooler.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense that he wouldn't go for.
She's
Jenny,
like
right?
she's
It's
like
just-
super hot, super like into skiing.
Yeah.
Totally. They should have been hooking up for like years.
right, but then it wouldn't be like Casablanca, I guess.
Did you guys recognize Anna?
Yeah,
How do I know her? I mean, I've seen her. This is what she is.
that's
to me.
crazy that you. I thought you knew right away too because it's the other show you recommended to me, or not?
Yeah, it's the other show.
Yeah, Hannibal.
She's Dr. Alana Bloom.
I know it's been a while since
Yeah,
you've
it
seen
has.
Hannibal,
I feel like I probably knew that while I was watching Hannibal, but I
Yeah.
did not. Right now, would not have pulled
but
it.
I
out.
didn't. I knew as soon as I saw her. I'm like, how do I know her? I just saw her in something, but I had to look it up because
right.
it didn't. She was a lot younger or something, so it just didn't register. But yeah,
Can we agree this is David Denman's best role of all time?
which one's he?
He's Lance,
Lance
the
the
bartender,
bartender?
also from The Office.
He was very funny.
Chicks love me, and I love chicks.
I think what made this, and I like which London's in this? Which London?
Jeremy?
I think it's Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
What's the other one?
They look a lot alike.
Jason.
Jason.
This is Jason.
Oh, it is.
Is it Jason?
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I think everyone is just
He's like perfectly
well,
cast.
yeah,
too.
like well cast. I
like
think.
he just
works.
is exactly the right amount of hair and like soul patch. It just works for
It just
for
hit,
2001.
it hit the right tone of fun ski movie, hot hot people,
Yeah.
attractive people, and the homage makes it better for me. But like I just think
No,
there's
I
something
think
it hits a lot of the right notes that it's supposed to for a comedy. So that's why I'm just so surprised I hadn't heard about it.
It's just one of those. It's like for me, has always just been
Because there's so many stupid movies out there.
100%.
And
We've
I
watched
figured this
many.
was just another. I don't know. I can't even think of a equivalent.
Well, we talked
And especially
about
the ones that came out that
when
day,
we
but-
did the old ski movie, the '90s ski movies, right?
Yeah.
Like Ski Patrol and Ski
Yeah.
School. Like those were like very much a similar storyline, but this is done so much better in like every way outside of the lack of nudity. But
Yeah, why is that?
apparently there was cutscene. I saw there two scenes featuring Victoria Stills that were cut. One was an extended version topless hot tub scene, criminal, which was cut so they could lower the MPAA rating, criminal. Who needs a lower rating for this movie?
Wanted more people to
was
see
this
it.
going to crush in the theaters? Like, I mean,
Maybe in 2001.
the other scene was a 3-minute end scene between Inga, Victoria Silva, and Luke, Zach Galifianakis, in his cabin.
Yeah.
Both of those need to exist somewhere. But
Zach's got a copy of them.
you know what I thought would, and maybe an underappreciated, something I've always liked, and I fell in love with it as I was watching, is the end. I think a movie like that, the outtakes at the end is just like a perfect finish to that movie.
That's a great point. Yeah.
It
It made me like it even more.
it just was this one random piece that I'm sure got thrown in, but it's like it made, for whatever reason, I feel like you couldn't have done it better. Just ending it would have felt weird, and like to have those and like have London like falling over in front of Majors, like it just like all of it really worked, and I'm glad they used it. It just feels like a random thing, but to me, I think it really did amplify the finish.
I think it's because this movie, the ski aspect of it, again, like we were talking about when we talked about the other ski movies, there's just it's so fun to just think about living their lives.
Right.
So like filming a movie, a ski movie like this, it had to be a blast too.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're just laughing the whole time because they get to be on a mountain.
Yeah, they get to be king of the mountain.
They get to be
King of the mountain.
They get to be king of the mountain.
Even that's right out of the gate. That is happening.
Yeah, the
and
beer
that,
thing.
Well, yeah, but just you're racing.
You're racing. You're
She's-
having fun.
She's flashing like to distract it. Like all of this stuff is working. Like they think they got him. He's got a little trick up his sleeve. Like hand on the ass of the statue. Like the whole thing. It's so ridiculous, but so awesome. And it's 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're off to a great start when that happens.
The bear ass. What's the town founder's name?
Pops.
Pops. Yeah, is
Yeah.
that right? Yeah. Yeah, it's just funny that the statue and that plays such a big part in it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think I want to live vicariously through this movie.
Papa Muntz. Yeah.
I will say I caught a line that I don't think I've caught before, which is always great. And obviously it's been a minute, but I'm confident I never noticed it before. So her fiance that comes, the pilot, is actually played by Todd Richards, who was a professional snowboarder and member of the '98 U.S. Olympic snowboarding team, not handicapped, by the way. He just was in the chair. So he's probably the most capable member on the mountain. But when they're getting on the plane, And Galifianakis was like, "You showing a movie today? It's not Alive, is it?" It really, I've never caught that before, and it just really made me laugh hard. And if you don't know what Alive is, look it up before you watch it.
Yeah, I saw that for whatever reason. It was one of those ones you're just like, oh, so this is the twist in the story, and it's a true story too.
Yeah, Live really is.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
They said their one regret is that they didn't have any A1 sauce.
But the scenes that everybody mentioned when we were in college and were quoted a lot were the hot tub Casanova doing the Keckner line. It was like he was out there loving it strong.
Yesimo's got 9 words for situation. They only got 8 for snow or something like that.
And then when he gets over there and he's got like all the stuff and he's got the lime with the hedge trimmers and the rubbing alcohol, and he just shoots it and takes it and
then just pushes them out.
It's so funny. God, it just everything works. They're lacking. They're lacking the nudity. That's the only. It's the school. I was talking to a guy at work. I was like, "Yeah, we did ski patrol and ski school," and he was like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "Right?" I was like, "Those were classics of our time, growing up." And this had all that. Just they wanted a PG-13 rating.
We can still improve on the ski movie. I feel like for when we do our movie.
Oh, for when we do ours,
when we make ours.
But not much, not by much.
I'm trying to think of the most recent.
Near perfect.
What Hot Tub Time Machine is probably the most recent.
I got big vibes of that as well.
Well, this was like the precursor,
yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like setting the table for it.
Or like Hot Tub Time Machine makes fun of a lot of
all of those.
Just
the
all
genre.
ski movies. Oh, probably this one too.
Definitely.
Yeah. They've seen this movie, the makers of Hot
You
Tub
should.
Time
Everyone
Machine.
should have. A fun little note I saw was that Jenny, when she got stood up by Rick, she's just drinking MGD.
Just chugging.
I don't know.
Cool girl right there.
I don't know if they have limited resources in Alaska or what, but I was like, that struck me as maybe not the most obvious choice of beer for
her.
to
Well,
be
I thought
knocking
it was
back.
also. I thought she had at one point had a High Life out there because she had a couple of
I
bottles
saw
on
Miller
the table.
Genuine Draft in her
When
in
she
her
tipped it
hands,
back.
and I was like, Jesus.
The other thing that I was going to mention about this was the music that was playing in the background was
So
so of the time,
of
right?
the time, exactly
Yeah,
right.
Exactly of the
2001.
time.
There was a Jimmy Eat World song in there that I love.
Oh, what's the other?
Jack Johnson. There's
Oh, yeah,
a lot of
Jack
Jack
Johnson,
Johnson. Apparently,
for
he's
sure.
in the movie somewhere because he's credited.
Oh,
Him
really?
and the band. Maybe that was at the
The
Lodge.
E6 Anytime song is great early.
Yeah.
Jack Johnson posters.
Yeah, this is around the time I met Jack Johnson at Iowa when we brought him to
Sure.
the IMU.
Hear You Me
yeah,
from
Hear You
Jimmy.
Me, yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Obviously, the Weezer song is
Yeah.
the one that everybody remembers.
it was. The soundtrack was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, very
Of
of
the
the
time,
time.
for sure.
Yeah.
Makes you feel like, oh, yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, for me, the
Simpler
Eve 6 song,
time.
and again, it's because I've watched this movie enough that that's where I actually know it from this, but
It's a good song.
It is, but it's very, it feels absolutely perfect for the whole vibe. Like it's a table setter for me in this
Yeah.
movie, and I think from there, all the songs really fit well.
I don't. That song doesn't get any airplay compared to Inside Out.
Right.
They're like one hit wonder. But yeah, I agree with you. It set the tone of the movie really well. Nailed it.
So this movie doesn't exist apparently without.
I think it still does. It still exists. They
I
just
don't
wouldn't.
know.
They wouldn't put all the. They wouldn't put all those little
References,
little references
allusions.
in. And I mean, so many movies have ripped off Casablanca or ripped off that line. Like I wondered which other quotes they were going to say, but of all the gin joints and all the towns and all the world, she had to walk into mine.
Yeah.
Like that's been said in countless movies.
Right.
Other things of this, they stole other parts as well, like a lot of the plot points. But yeah, they could have still. They didn't have to do that, and I think it still would have been a good movie. But yeah, what did you guys think of your first foray into?
Well, this was your first time too, Jelani?
I think I had seen bits and pieces of Casablanca, but never all the way through. So Jen and I watched it, and I liked the subtle humor in it.
Rick's great.
Rick
right?
was great until he started drinking and became a whiny, sniveling bitch. But, when he's just like sitting around and talking to people and like, giving them all the snark and stuff, I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of how. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? Is that nobody knows what his past was. He just runs the bar. He doesn't let anyone. He doesn't drink with anybody.
Yeah.
He doesn't stick his neck out for anybody. That's like the whole point of the first 20, 30 minutes of the
How
movie.
close was he to the airport? Because it felt like that was just like the airport bar.
He's like right there.
Right, he's right there. It's like, oh, we're just going to go to Rick's airport bar.
Yeah, they just kept it simple in the 1940s.
Next to the
Not
Chili's,
too many
too.
set pieces.
Martin, I loved it.
Oh, you loved it.
Yeah.
Good. It's a really good old movie.
I
right?
really enjoyed it. I was like hooked.
It's hard to find fault, I think.
I think deep down I didn't want to, but I did. I really was just kind of hanging on every scene and and into all of it just as it was playing out. I thought it was great. It does not surprise me that it's considered, like an all-time great. I don't know that it's one of the all-time great movies I've seen, but I get especially over the years why it was why it's considered that. And we can circle back. I wanted to talk about the all-time rankings that are out there by some of the noteworthy of sorts. But I really enjoyed it. The homages, like I said, I watched this one first, but
it's highly quotable for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's and it's just influential, right? Like this movie. I think there was movies before it and movies that came after it, and everything they tried to recreate this like simple love story, but where it doesn't have a happy ending, but it kind of does. It's like a bittersweet ending.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it works really well, because it's not. I think movies back then probably were a little bit more predictable. I've seen a lot of them, where they don't necessarily hit that bittersweet note perfectly, but this one does.
What was the French cop's name? I forget.
Renault?
Renault?
Renault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Officer Renault.
Yeah.
Right.
Louis Renault.
I did like his
Claude Rains
showing up in the later parts, or when he's just being like witty with the people that he's like going up against, or saying like they're not double entendres, but whatever he was saying, it was like, oh yeah, well I'll slyly joke about that to your face, and when he's like making fun of the Germans or things like that, it's like, oh, I'd rather not be on your side or something like that. I really enjoyed that part, and then his repartee with Rick and how they like got along and how they interacted, and I really enjoyed. And then, as you said, like you go through and you see the story and the bittersweet of it, of him and Ilsa, it's Ilsa.
Yeah,
right?
Ilsa.
Yeah.
Ingrid Bergman. I mean, she looks great.
She's a smoke, no doubt. I looked her up. I don't know really any of the other movies that she's
I don't think she was in a
known
ton.
for. Like
I think she died a little bit.
Her known for were
young.
like Gaslight, Spellbound, Notorious.
Gaslight is where the term gaslighting people comes from. That movie.
She was in a movie in 1982, so she made it.
Oh, okay.
That long.
guess
I mean, to be fair, she died, so you weren't wrong.
I thought it was shortly after. I think
she died in 1982.
Okay.
At the young age of 67.
Snuffed out in her prime.
But she was gorgeous. She's on Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, your
from,
boy.
From 1974.
I've seen that one, of course.
Hercule
course.
Poirot.
Yeah, Perot, Renault.
But yeah, I mean, like you're saying, the dialogue between and the relationship between Louis and Captain Renault and Rick is great. When he's like, "Oh, I came to Casablanca for the waters." And he's like, "We're in the desert." It's like, "I was misinformed." It's those kinds of quips that happen throughout it. Or like, do you notice the couple that they're like,
they're
we're
gonna
saving
move?
up. We're saving up. We're trying to get to America. And they were practicing their English, and he was like, "What clock?" or something like, "What watch is it?" And he's like, "Oh, such watch." And they're like, "Oh, you're
Seven watch.
7 watch. Oh, such watch." It's like you'll get along great in America. It had some funny moments for a serious movie. I mean, this was 1942, so World War II hadn't been won yet.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's lots of serious topics and serious undertones with the Nazis. But
Well, and one of the scenes and this is the reason I pulled the note, was I thought it was an awesome scene when they're essentially having they're singing the songs.
Yeah.
Like the revolutionaries
Viva la France!
are singing essentially over the Germans who are
Right.
singing their anthem. And the note that I saw, which really was, I felt like it was a powerful scene, but it was just so well done. It was really good. And then to read that a lot of the extras, they said, were really like in tears. They were actual refugees from Nazi persecution, like you said, because of the timing of it all.
Yeah.
Like this was very fresh, and so like that was a moment that was for them legitimately, and like impactful,
legitimately powerful. Yeah,
and I think I saw where like the German Major Strasser, he was like very, very anti-Nazi in real life, but he's like, so, playing the role, and to have all of those things happening and like, what was actually going on in the world, all that was elevated, I think, part of the whole storyline.
Yeah. I think it was interesting to just watch kind of like the way that this movie was made and the way they start the whole story off of like, we're going to round up, these people who we think are
round up the usual
dissidents,
suspects.
round up the usual suspects, but they just go out and start grabbing random guys in hats.
Oh, always. Yeah, I said you would not want to be wearing a hat. Just take your hat off.
Yeah. And then they shoot the one guy. And then, it's again, today that would be like 7 bullets in the back or whatever. But then it's just 1 bullet and down he goes. And that's the end of him.
You don't need many.
Yeah. But as we mentioned about the usual suspects, is that where like the lines come from? Like a lot of, like you said, a lot of lines in this
round
movie.
up the usual suspects is a famous quote from movie.
This one. Yeah.
I think
And then I think that's where the movie, The Usual Suspects, probably, not like really far down the line. It's not like a direct thing, but it just became part of our lexicon.
Yeah.
From this movie.
Isn't the play it again, Sam? Isn't that often misquoted? Because she doesn't say play it again,
play
Sam.
it, Sam.
She says play it, Sam. Play as time goes on.
As time goes on.
Yeah. But there's a sequel or something called Play It Again, Sam.
Oh,
I
okay.
think, too. There's a movie.
Yeah, you have those two. You have
It's a play by Woody Allen called Play It Again, Sam. So that perpetuated it even more.
Yeah.
The misquote.
the Here's Looking at You Kid, which he says like 3 or 4 times.
Which I heard he ad-libbed.
Well,
the kid part.
I was reading something where there was notes that like that line has existed well before this movie.
Okay.
There's like someone, I didn't take it down. Someone on the Walk of Fame had like Here's Looking at You, Sid, and it was about someone named Sid, and like they're like this whole, they're like, which in turn probably meant that it was even before that.
Yeah.
Like, and so it was out there, but then obviously he used it multiple times. We'll Always Have Paris, which we referenced in the Out Cold homage of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world. She walks into mine. And then Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah.
Those were all essentially like very, very popular, famous quotes just from this movie, just in this 90 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing I think that was kind of nice about this was even though it was a movie in 1942, it didn't drag.
No.
No,
There's
that's why I was
there's
I
not
was
a
on
scene
it.
you can cut, and it's
Right.
not too long.
Yeah.
I was very much into. Like, that's what I was. The one reason I think I did like it, and why I struggle sometimes with some of the older movies. You already don't have freaking color. You're gonna expect me to. You better have a storyline that's engaging. So I wanted to talk about, because I have always heard and known that this is considered one of the best movies of all time. I was looking at, I think
Paddington 2.
AFI has it as number 2, behind
Citizen
Kane, which is a fucking not even close. This is so much better than that.
I agree on personally, I would much rather watch Casablanca over and over again than Citizen Kane. So,
And they have Godfather as 3,
Yeah.
Gone with the Wind 4, never seen it. Lawrence of Arabia 5, never seen it.
I've seen them both.
I know,
but,
I'm sure you have.
yeah, they're,
But you get to like
Gone with the Wind's really long. Lawrence of Arabia is really
too.
long.
Yeah.
So sure, they're good, but
Is Ben-Hur up there? Does that make the top 10? Because that's also very long.
yeah, And again, long movies aren't bad. It's just sometimes you're not going to want to watch them these days in 2025.
But I mean, again, we've talked about this. Like Nolan makes long movies, but he makes them enjoyable.
Interstellar
makes you get through it because you're hooked on it.
Well, and that was so. I was looking at, I think Rotten Tomatoes had it like 3, and IMDb I didn't see it at all in the first 5, so I was like, oh, wonder where it is, and I'm scrolling and it's 45.
And IMDb is the 45th best movie
IMDb
ever,
is
and it's
more
about
people.
rankings from people.
Yeah,
Okay.
more people. So that's why Paddington 2 is like way up there. And
Well,
which I just saw
Shawshank
for
is
the
number
first time.
1
Oh, Shawshank.
on IMDb, but it was, and it's fine. Like whatever. To a degree, I appreciate. Like, I don't need for it to be an old movie to be the greatest of all time, right? Like I've watched Citizen Kane. I've watched this. Like, it's fine. They're very good. I don't think Citizen Kane. I never quite understood what I was missing on why that's considered widely, and I think a lot of people feel that way of younger generations. So.
Wasn't that one also? We watched that when I was in school for an art class for filmmaking and like the techniques and stuff that they were using.
That was Citizen Kane?
Yeah.
We talked about that when we did it.
Yeah.
It's again very influential, very different than anything that came before it.
12 Angry Men was 5th on the IMDb
Yeah, I
list.
can see that. Yeah. Like I
Also,
said.
better than Citizen Kane.
But they're all pretty damn near perfect. I know you don't enjoy Citizen Kane that much, but it is. There's lots of parts of it that are lots of aspects of it that I think are considered a.
I'm
a
looking to
perfect
see
movie.
where Citizen Kane even falls on the IMDb list
Yeah.
because I haven't seen it yet, which is awesome.
So we've done the Maltese Falcon with Bogart.
Yeah.
We did.
There's two
Casablanca.
people from in Maltese Falcon that are in this as
Yeah.
well. Sidney Greenstreet and Peter
Peter
Lorre.
Lorre.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because Green Street was the guy in the Fez
fat man.
who bought the Rick's Americana.
Oh, you mean yes?
In
this
Casablanca.
movie,
105 Citizen Kane.
And then Peter Lorre is the Ugarte.
yes. Ugarte.
Ugarte, the guy early.
hide me.
So those two, again, I recognize those two from my days of Looney Tunes because they're always portrayed in like Bugs Bunny cartoons,
Yeah.
like Bogart and Peter Lorre, because
Yeah,
they
that's
just have
true.
those distinct looks.
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Isn't that the Seinfeld quote too, where she's like, all your like pop culture or high culture references or come from Bugs Bunny because he like goes to the opera or something
Yeah.
at one point. You know?
I mean, they were doing some things back in the Mel Blanc and the rest of the crew were doing some things. But yeah, again, like, you have Bogart, he's the draw, right? And he plays it very well. And like I said before, I enjoyed the snark. I felt like this was the type of movie that inspired like a lot of James Bond.
Yeah.
Like the subtle jabs and like we talked about the dialogue and the interaction between people who are not on the same side as you. Like that they're enemies, but you still have that witty repartee
Yeah.
between them, and I enjoyed that.
I saw a note that in the one that like Madonna tried to get this remade. She wanted to remake it with her in the role and with Ashton Kutcher as the lead, and it was reportedly the word was like this is like an untouchable script to remake, which is probably wise.
Unless you're making a ski movie out of it.
But in the 80s, the script was sent to readers at a number of major studios and production companies under its original title, Everybody Comes to Rick's. And some readers recognized it, but most did not. And many complained the script was not good enough to make a decent movie. And others gave complaints as too dated, not much dialogue, or too much dialogue and not enough sex.
Sad state of affairs.
Talking about out cold here, I think. I just thought that was amusing.
But yeah, I think this is considered script wise like
06,
one of the best.
06 best screenplay of all time by the Writers Guild of America.
So that wasn't
Yeah.
on the blacklist.
What about? And I think Chinatown is another one that's considered the
Okay.
best like
Nice. Faye Dunaway's in that.
yeah, considered like the best script, and possibly The Godfather as well. But again, those and Godfather's a great movie all around, but I don't know if it's just the script that makes it great, you know. But Chinatown and this one, it is a lot in the not just the acting, but it is the words and the whole script.
Yeah, I saw there where it was the play was called what is it? Everybody Comes to Rick's, but there was some movie called Algiers that had done really well, and that's why they wanted to name it Casablanca. Was essentially vibing off of that idea, like naming it the place, and people liking that.
Why did they need to get to Lisbon to get out? Just because Lisbon's a port and they couldn't go through
They explained it
Spain
in the first little part.
Yeah,
I don't really know why.
Yeah, they had to like bounce from like France down to the edge of Spain and then down to Casablanca and then back up to Lisbon.
Puddle jumper to Lisbon, figure plane out.
Yep,
I would assume,
right.
the airport's probably not
But
big
some
enough
of them
to
just
handle
wait
the
and
bigger
wait.
airport. Most likely not big enough to handle in Casablanca. I mean,
And you just couldn't go through.
yeah. So you have to just take
Occupied France.
a smaller plane over to a bigger area.
Yeah.
Also a little farther west, I think.
Can you think of any other movie from like the 40s, 50s that you'd feel like
No.
could do a good illusion or have enough like fodder to like do an illusion like Out Cold, you know, like kind of pull some of the elements from and then update it?
I don't know. There's a bunch of Hitchcock movies that are great from the 40s, but no, that's the big one. I mean, you mentioned Gone with the Wind, but I don't know. I think that's long and bloated. There's good parts of it, and you guys would probably enjoy. Is it
Careful.
Rhett Butler? That's the actor's name?
character.
Yeah, or the character. Yeah, he's the character. You would enjoy him. Like he's funny and witty, and some of his lines are pretty good. But it's like there's a lot. I haven't seen it since high school, and I haven't been like, oh, I want to watch that again. So someday maybe, but yeah, I think you guys might enjoy parts of his character. But no, I don't know that there's anything that you'd really want to remake.
Yeah.
That badly. And yeah, and this movie, outside of doing some references in something like Out Cold, I don't think you'd want to do like a straight remake of this. It's pretty perfect as it is, and if you can get Brady to enjoy it in 2025, then I think they've nailed it, and you don't want to mess with it, Madonna.
That feels like a win. You got me, guys. A black and white movie, and I was literally engrossed the entire time.
Call up the people at Warner Brothers. Just tell them to re-release it. Just put it back in the theaters. People will go see it.
Well, I mean, it's crazy. It's available on Max. I mean, that's where we watch. I mean, it's not hard to find. I just think, especially in this day and age, I know I have a hard time ever wanting to watch something that, like, there's so much shit coming your way, and you'll sit through a bad movie, and there's a really good one available, an all-time great even.
Out Cold you're talking about, right?
100p.
As always, we'll always have podcasts. And now you can too, if you subscribe to our Film Fathers wherever you listen. Thanks, and go to bed.